Good afternoon, folks. This is Mike with Bella's Whisper Farmstead, and today is going to be more of a how-to video. If you're a little squeamish, this might not necessarily be the video for you, so fair warning. I will be processing 2 deer heads today in order to turn those deer heads into a Euro mount. So a Euro mount looks like this. So basically you are left with the deer skull and then the antlers, and then that gets mounted to a board and then hung in the house somewhere. So this is one I did probably 3 years ago, something like that, 2-3 years ago. I've done 2. So this will be the, I guess we'll call it the 3rd and the 4th that I've ever done. I watched a YouTube video to learn how to do this. I'm not telling you every single step that I'm getting ready to do is how you should absolutely do it, but this is sort of a guide to show you exactly how I do it. Maybe some things that I learned a little bit from the first and second times that I did it in order to help myself to get a little bit better at it. But this is exactly what we're going to end up with when it's all said and done. So to show you, here are the 2 deer heads that I will be processing today. I've had these ones from this season, or this past season, and then ones from the season before. They've been in the freezer. I took them out yesterday, got them thawed out, and we're going to start working on those, getting everything cut off, getting it all cleaned up, and then we will turn around at some point. We will put them in the pot of water. Inside this hot water, I do have some detergent, some dishwashing liquid. That dishwashing liquid will help to take a lot of the fat and the grease out of the skull, and will help as you cook the deer heads. All the fat and the meat that's inside of that will help get rid of some of that fat and grease in there too, and clean it up while we're going through the process. So it's going to go from there, and then once I pull it out, I'm going to stick it over there with the pressure washer. The pressure washer is something that I did. I didn't learn that through the YouTube video. I just happened to think, man, I wonder how it would work if I got a pressure washer out and use that. So and it worked really well, so we're going to try that again and hopefully be successful. But it'll go from the pressure washer back into the vat of the hot water to cook it some more, and into the pressure washer to clean a little bit more off, and then so on and so forth. To just continue to go back through the process as we try to once again make it look like that. So let's get started. So I'm first starting out, and I'm taking it cut right down the top, and I'm going to take and cut off of the sides here and here, and I'm going to peel it off in order to be able to peel as much of the skin and the fur off the top of the actual skull before I can get into the actual inside of everything else that's inside the skull. Belle, you come out to visit? I got Belle out here visiting us. I guess she wanted to see what I'm doing. Maybe I need to move this a little bit closer for you to see a little bit better. So I don't know if, hopefully you can't hear it, but I got a neighbor playing a bunch of music, and I don't know if you can hear it in the video. Hopefully not. I'll have to edit it out if you can.
I'm so glad that you have decided to do this, because it's been taking up room in the fridge and freezer.
Yeah, it's been in there for...
And then when you open, unassuming, and you open up a freezer or a fridge, and you see like two
deer heads staring back at you.
Staring back at me, yeah.
Yeah, you're probably used to it, but anybody else that goes into it, friends or family, they're just going, "Oh, hey,
well,
wait a minute."
Well, the first couple times I had to get, I have to get used to that, but the first time it was like, whoa.
I was telling them I'm not a professional. This is only the third and fourth one that I've done, so the other two, and I brought an example out and showed it at the beginning of the video of what it's all going to look like. That was the second one I actually had ever done.
Before and after.
Yeah, the example. Now I'm cutting around the base of the antlers and cleaning all that up off of the bottom. You got to go all the way around that. So I like this little knife because, like I said, it really allows me to be able to get that point in here and get all around where I need to get it to. Now if you can see, but I'll show you here as I'm doing it. It allows me to really be able to get the point in here to be able to cut all around the base of the antlers, so I can get as much of that skin, fat, and fur out of there. And then when we get the pressure wash on it, we'll be able to clean a lot of that stuff up. One thing I won't do, and we'll talk about this later in the video, is but when you're cooking inside the pot, you make sure to keep the antlers out of the pot, because you want to keep the patina for the antlers. You want to keep the patina here on the antlers. Same thing with the pressure washer. When you're actually using the pressure washer to pressure wash, you don't want to pressure wash the antlers. You want to have that same color there, so the skull overall will be nice and white, and the antlers will have that nice brown weathered patina, which you want to keep on there. So we'll clean all that up too. I started doing this Euro, 2 years ago, I guess, or whatever it was, when I did the first ones or whatever, because, man, everything is so expensive. I do not know how to do taxidermy in order to be able to, like, full shoulder mount deer heads and all that stuff. I haven't learned that, and this was a much cheaper option for me to be able to, instead of paying, I mean, now it's like $600 to get somebody to do a full shoulder mount, and I'm a cheap son of a gun, so because of that, I said, well, you know what, I think a Euro mount would look really good, and I feel like I could do that, so I went ahead, taught myself how to do a little bit better. Like I said, I've learned a little bit watching folks over the years, whether it be friends and family, but I was able to basically go in and watch some YouTube videos, get some refreshers, and get better pointers on how to do this as I'm going through it, and that's what got me more and more into doing this. I do it for myself. I don't do it for anybody else. It's just for me. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you, oh my gosh, this is a lot of fun. I don't necessarily really enjoy it per se, but I'm too cheap to pay somebody to do the other mount, so that's why I'm doing it. And if I am lucky enough to get a deer like this with a nice set of antlers or a rack on it, I want to make sure that I do that animal justice and am able to display that. So as you can see, I'm continually cutting all the way around. I love using the tip. It's really sharp, and I just keep going in at it, and all I'm doing is peeling the skin back all the way around on both sides. I'm getting all around this antler here. So if you can see that, once again, I'm getting all around the antler, all right here, peeling back all of that skin as much as I can. And there is a little fur there, so once I get it all off, I'll clean that up a little bit and get more of that fur, get that cut off, and that way it's not still there. And I'll do that, like I said, on both sides, and we'll just continue to peel it. Once I get all of the fur and the skin off, then I'll get down to, you know, getting the eyes out and getting the jawbone off and the cleaning up the sinuses and all that stuff. But we'll leave all the bones, and that's what, you know, the final skull will give us that look that we're going for. Howdy! That's my neighbors. I will actually say my daughter. She's living in the tiny house now. So you can watch a couple of the other videos and see that process if you haven't already had a chance to see that. Built the tiny house, and she's living in that and enjoying it. Alright, all of the skin is now officially separated, so that is done. So we'll take that, stick that inside the gut bucket, and now we'll start working on the rest of it. So something I'm having to do is down in back here. I don't know how well you can see it, but I'm having to take and cut all around in here and here to be able to get the very back portion of the I guess we call the vertebrae that is attached to the back of the head or the skull, where it goes in and the brain and all that stuff is. So I'm having to cut all of that off. It's all held on by muscle and cartilage, so I got to get all that off, and then I'll eventually start peeling all the rest of the meat off the best I can. And at some point, I'll stick it inside the hot boiling water, and I'll cook it, which will allow me to help get the meat off a little bit better. I find this probably be one of the hardest parts, is to just working the knife all the way around to get this piece off without stabbing myself. Cut myself, stab myself, whatever it is. this and the jaw. So getting this piece off with the cartilage in the jaw, which actually comes up in and hinges with a ton of cartilage in there on both sides. Those are actually the two hardest parts in my opinion. Gut hook in there. Sometimes that gut hook's really good for just being able to get in there and sort of pry it back if you need to pry it back too. There you go. And that is the bottom jawbone. I was able to get that pried out. So now that's done. So like I said before, the two hardest pieces of this whole thing is really the jawbone and the back portion of the vertebrae, or the top portion of the vertebrae that goes into to the skull, because there's so much cartilage there. And after you really can get that cut around, then you got a little bit of better area to work and try to get as much as you can. So now work on the rest of the skull. We really are at the point now where I gotta cook it. Once I cook it, it'll start cooking that meat and getting that fat and everything. It'll make it a little bit easier to peel off. And then cut off. So we'll cook it, peel it, cut it, pressure wash it, cook it, and so on and so forth as we're going through it. Try to get it done. Alright, so stir this up a little bit. As mentioned before, I got dishwashing liquid in there. That'll help separate the fat and the grease and clean that bone up pretty good while it's cooking inside the hot water. Make it a little bit easier to deal with. It also gives a little bit of a better smell, because the dishwashing liquid has a smell to it as well. Not that that's the intent, we'll just call that a positive side effect. I'm also going to take and put a 2x4 up here, and that way I can take and put the antlers, rest the antlers on here while the head itself is in the water cooking everything off, because I don't want the antlers to get all in here and then it mess with the patina on the color of the antlers. Now, as mentioned before, there's 2x4s here, and that's what the antlers are going to sit on, just like that. And you can see down in the pot. So I'm actually got to add more water to it. I didn't want to have too much water in it and then it overflow and come over the top of the antlers. So I'm going to add a little bit more water to it, and I'll actually be able to sit this down. There goes my pan. It's a little bit windy today. But we'll be able to sit this down in there like this, and I have the water come just over the top and cook everything that we need it to cook. So I'm going to add some water to it now. Alright, so I was able to take the antler, fill it up as you just saw, and able to take the antlers and I'll slide them back a little bit further with a piece of wood. So now you can see that right there that they're just out of the water. So that will cook. I'll leave that in there. I'll probably let it cook for about an hour or so while I work on the other one, and then when let's say roughly an hour comes up, I'll take it out and I'll start taking some of the meat off of it over here at the station. Alright, so I am now going to take and pull the head out of the pot, stick it in the pan, and start cutting some of that cooked meat away, some of the cooked cartilage and the fat, and then get as much of that off there as possible, and maybe stick it back in there and cook it a little while longer, pull it out, and then do the same thing, and eventually take it to the pressure washer. So remember, when you take that thing out, it is quite hot. So I'm gonna let that thing rest for a few minutes, and then I'll get in there and start cutting some of this, the actual cooked meat off, so we can start getting it cleaned up a little bit more and just continue on the process. All right, so before I had put it in the actual pot, I'd taken my blade and ran it right down the roof of the mouth. That way I could just basically cut that cartilage in half, and it just would make it easier once it came out of the pot to start peeling it back. So as you can see over here, that I've already started to peel it back here, and you can already see the bone really well. The pressure washer will come when I get really more to the bone, and I'm able to start pressure washing a lot of the residual fat and I don't know, whatever you want to call that, on there. Start pressure washing some of that off. Right now the main focus is to cut as much of the cartilage and the meat out of it as possible so I can get to that point. Now you can start to see it taking shape. Got the eyes out, the backside where the ears are. We'll start working on the nose here in just a bit. So now that a lot of the meat is out, any cartilage and meat that was under that didn't quite cook and wasn't ready to peel, I'll stick it back in the pot, and a lot of that'll cook, and it'll start to curl and peel up off the bone, and that will allow me to be able to go in after I pull that out maybe a second time and hopefully get more of it off. Alright, stick it back in there. Cook a little while longer. No, my hose just busted. That's wonderful. As I mentioned before, the water cooks off, so you got to continue to watch the water level. In this case, the water dropped down, the level did, so I'm going to fill it back up a little bit more. Where it just gets just to the base of the antlers. All right, so it's been about 30 minutes since I put it in for the second time. I'm actually going to take it and I'm going to go put it over there, turn the pressure washer on, and I'm going to pressure wash it. And I'm going to try to clean as much of it off with the pressure washer and see how that works for me. Instead of trying to stick it back over there and dig more into it, I'm just going to put the pressure washer on it now, and we'll see if it works. So here we go. turn off the pressure washer. I'm a little soaked, so I will tell you this. This is not a clean job. I am a little bit wet. So be prepared to get wet. And get meat and whatever else all over you. Alright, I'm going to pull it out. Just now I've been in there for maybe another 20 minutes, got it nice and hot and cooked a little bit more. I'm going to pull it out. I'm going to bring it over here. Put it in the pan. And I'm going to take the knife. There ain't much left on it. That pressure washer, doing it the first time around, man, that made a big difference. But I'll put a knife on it and just see if there's any other thing that needs to be scraped. Right, see, there it is. I was able to scrape that off. There's a tiny bit. But taking the back side of the knife and just scraping it pulls some of that off, which is really good. Some of that little extra bits and pieces of meat and cartilage that are still there. Now I haven't sprayed down inside the brain cavity, and I got to get that done. So I will get that eventually, but right now it's just getting last little bit of this stuff completely off of it. And then, like I said, I'll spray down in there a little bit better. And before I was mentioning about the sinuses, that pressure washer allowed me to be able to take, and if you can see all the way down in there, it allowed me to be able to get way down in there and spray most of that out of there and clean it all up. There's still some little pieces in here that I'm going to take and I'm going to break off and clean up. Like there's a piece of cartilage right here. So I'm going to get all that out. I'm going to cut that out and get it pulled. But man, that pressure washer makes a big difference and takes a lot of the hard work out of it. And some people have talked about going in and bleaching the head. I didn't bleach the head on any of the ones that I've done, and it just dried. I really feel like sticking it in that pot and cooking off all of that fat and the grease really makes a big difference with regards to that as well. It allows it to dry out over time and keep that sort of white bone look instead of me having to turn around and take and bleach it. Alright, now it's time to take it to the pressure washer again. I really need to do it in a spot where it doesn't slide all over the place. I guess I'll just have to go to maybe I can go to the sidewalk. overall, I am very happy with that. I was able to get that done in a day. There's a little bit left to do. Like I said, I'm gonna let it dry out, and then I'm gonna put it in the cooker and cook off any last little bit of grease and fat that may be on there, gristle or cartilage, stuff like that, just to clean it up and make it smell a little bit better. There's also inside here, there's also little bits of cartilage in there, so I'm gonna get a I think last time I used a screwdriver. I got like a flathead screwdriver and went in there all the way around it to clean as much of that out as possible. That was actually where I found when I was referencing before with I thought I left something in there that was rotten. That was actually where that piece was actually down inside that cavity. So I'm gonna get down in there. You can use a flashlight and scrape all that out really well. There may be a better way to do it on YouTube. I don't know. Somebody else may have a better way. I'm gonna clean all that out the best I can, and then, like I said, we'll drop it in the vat, cook it some more, and then let it sit to dry, and hopefully we'll call that done. All right, so now we're back on the operating table. I mentioned before there's like meat and stuff down inside the hole here. So I take that screwdriver and I just run it in there, and I'm just peeling it back all the way around, getting as much of that meat out of there as possible. You can grab it and you can pull it gently. Oop, I guess you can't really see that well, can you? Let's do this. See that? Let's try it. Alright, so I got it here like I mentioned. So I was able to take my screwdriver, get it down in there, and go all the way around, keep peeling it. So now I've got to take it, and I've got it, and I just got to pull it. I'm going to pull it gently the best I can, almost like peeling it, almost like if you got a piece of tape and you're trying to take a piece of tape or something off and you don't want to leave any residue behind. Same concept. I'm just trying to peel it and get as much of it out as possible. There you go. That big old piece of meat stuck in there. There's still a little bit more down in there. I can see it. I'm gonna get that too. All that makes a big difference. You don't want to leave that crap behind. Take it from one that learned. It stinks if you leave it behind, because it's flesh. I mean, it's meat and it's flesh, and it rots. And you don't want to. There we go, peeling it. And all I'm doing is running it, the screwdriver running it on the inside of the skull, and I'm just peeling it all the way around. And it's tedious too. It's not. I mean, none of this is like, oh, it goes perfect every time. You know, it just doesn't work out that way. Another piece. You got that. So I went ahead and did. I said, the heck with it. I'm gonna go ahead and do it now. So I went ahead and dumped all the water out, and I'm reheating the pot. Put all new dishwashing liquid in there, and I'm just gonna go ahead and cook this again on a new pot. And then I could basically call this one done by tonight, and then tomorrow I'll just work on the other one and get it done. So I'm going to throw this in there as soon as it gets nice and hot, and we'll get it cooked and cook as much of the excess fat and grease and all that stuff off of it as we possibly can. I'm really happy with how this has turned out, and really I'd say a short period of time, because I mean, we just started on this, or I just started on this. Well, it's 8 o'clock now, this time. So I've been at it for about 4 hours, I guess, or so, somewhere around there, 4 hours. So in 4 hours, I was able to get all that done. And I'll probably let it cook for, once I get it heated up, I'll probably let it cook for another 30 minutes and then pull it out and clean it off, and we'll see where we're at with it. So, good stuff. All right, good morning, and welcome to day 2 of the Euro mount how-to video. Last we left off, last night, I put the head inside the boiling water. I put brand new water in, filled it up with more dishwashing liquid. For this big tall pot, I would say it was probably about maybe a half a cup of dishwashing liquid. Let it come to that rolling boil, and then stuck the head in there one last final time to cook off anything else and try to get as much of the grease and everything separated off the head as possible, or the skull. And got that finished, pulled it off, let it dry completely overnight, and this is our final product. It is completely dry now and quite clean. I like the idea of what I did yesterday, which was take it basically to the pressure washer almost, I won't say instantaneously, very quickly. I took it to the pressure washer, as you saw. The past times I've done it, I cleaned a little bit, dipped it, and then cleaned a little bit and dipped it. This time I thought, you know what, let's just try the pressure washer right off, and man, if it didn't make a difference. So total time involved in this was about 5 hours, from the time that I put it on the table and started cutting everything off, cleaning it out, dipping it, pressure washing it, and then the final clean was about 5 hours. And then, like I said, last night I dried it out overnight. So something else, I have a friend of mine who actually took and created a little state of Georgia plaque for me out of pallet wood, and I painted that actually last night while this was cooking, and then he actually did a G, so I got it painted as well. So I created the little mount, the little black mount that it's going to sit on. So right here, I took that. It was just a 90-degree angle piece of steel. I got it cut, grinded, and bent, and that way it would fit in the back of the head. So there's a hole right here where I'd pointed out before with the basically where sort of the brain was. Well, that hook actually slides in through that hole, and that actually mounts it and holds it. So as you can see, that is my final product.